After the college entrance examination, my childhood sweetheart, whom I had a secret crush on, confessed his love to me in public. Amid the jeers and cheers of everyone, I shyly lowered my head, ready to say yes. The next second, a male voice that only I could hear came into my ears. He doesn't like you. He just wants to humiliate you after you say yes to please the girl he's currently chasing. I looked up blankly and swallowed the words of agreement back into my throat. Beside me, seeing that I didn't respond for a long time, my childhood sweetheart was still frowning and impatiently urging me. Say something, Avery. I saw the undisguisable disgust in his eyes. Combining all the previous incidents, I realized what was going on. I smiled, walked past my childhood sweetheart and went towards the man behind him. Classmate, do you have a girlfriend? If not, what do you think of me? After the college entrance examination, I went back to school to pack my things, but was blocked by Blake in the corridor at the entrance of the classroom. He raised his eyebrows and handed me a bouquet of roses. Avery, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? I looked up in surprise. You like me? Otherwise? Am I joking with you in front of so many classmates? Blake shrugged. He made a gesture with one hand upward. The group of male classmates who had a good relationship with him immediately started jeering. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Sister-in-law, please say yes to him. It wasn't easy for our Blake to chase someone. Amid their jeers, I shyly lowered my head, ready to say yes. There was no other reason. Blake and I grew up together since childhood and could be regarded as childhood sweethearts. He was the one I had a secret crush on since I first fell in love. Now that the person I had a secret crush on confessed his love to me in public, what reason did I have to say no? I bit my lip nervously and took a deep breath. Just as I was about to say the words, "I'll say yes to you," the next second, a clear male voice suddenly came into my ears. Are you going to say yes? He doesn't like you. He just wants to humiliate you after you say yes to please the girl he's currently chasing. Look. That girl is still secretly taking pictures with her mobile phone over there. All these guys who are jeering know this clearly and are just waiting to see your jokes. Fool. What's so likable about such a person? Who was talking? I looked up blankly and swallowed the words of agreement back into my throat. However, I found that the classmates around didn't have any other reactions and were still jeering and asking me to say yes. It seemed that only I could hear these words in my ears. Was I having auditory hallucinations? I tentatively turned my head, and I really saw a girl secretly taking pictures of me with her mobile phone in the corner of the crowd. Noticing my gaze, she guiltily moved her mobile phone down a little, allowing me to see her face clearly. It was my roommate Daphne. Before leaving the classroom, I had asked her if she wanted to go out and have a gathering with our other two roommates. Daphne looked disgusted. What's there to gather? It's uncertain whether we'll still be in contact in the future. She hurriedly walked out, telling me that she had an appointment and didn't have time. Now she had time to stand here and watch the fun? I had a vague guess in my heart and stared at her and asked coldly, "What are you taking pictures of?" After looking at me for a few seconds, Daphne impatiently pursed her lips, quickly put away her mobile phone and walked forward with a smile, taking my arm and teasing, "Well, a public confession. Of course I'll help you record it. Avery, didn't you always shout in the dormitory that you liked Blake? Why don't you hurry up and say yes? Did I always shout like that?" Daphne's words made me fall into a memory. I just mentioned it casually to my roommates before the college entrance examination was approaching. I asked them if I should rush to confess my love before graduation so as not to leave any regrets. I remembered that Daphne said this at that time. You like Blake? She looked me up and down several times with a disgusted look, and her tone was full of sarcasm. He has good grades, a good personality, and is handsome. He has high standards. Could he possibly like you? To be honest, if you two weren't neighbors and had known each other since childhood, Blake might not even be willing to be friends with you. Theft. I think you'd better not go and confess your love now. There are still half a month's worth of classes to attend. If he rejects you at that time, you won't even have the face to stay in the class. The other two roommates awkwardly turned their heads and didn't say anything. Daphne was still holding my arm and chattering nonstop. Avery. Don't be angry. I don't mean you're not good. You know I'm outspoken. What I mean is that you're too ordinary and don't deserve Blake. You should have some self-awareness. Why bother to rush to embarrass yourself? Under Daphne's gaze, I shook off her hand. Being outspoken isn't an excuse to belittle others casually. After saying so much. Do you like him too? Daphne pursed her lips and muttered. I just think you don't deserve him. Daphne. Stop talking. There's something on your teeth. I really didn't want to argue with her about whether I deserved Blake or not at this time. So I interrupted Daphne. Daphne was silent for 2 seconds after hearing this. Then covered her mouth and seemed a bit offended. I'm also doing it for your own good. You don't even want to listen. Alright. Alright. I'm sorry. I won't say it anymore. Okay? Daphne climbed back onto her bed, pulled the curtain and didn't say anything else. I also turned around and left the dormitory without thinking too much. Just thinking that she was being mean for a moment. But in my heart, I was also a bit discouraged because of her words. I wasn't afraid of embarrassing myself, but I was really afraid that Blake would reject me. I was afraid that in the end we wouldn't even be able to be friends. So in the end, I didn't rush to tell him my feelings before the college entrance examination. I thought I could find an opportunity to tell him when I was alone with Blake during the summer vacation. But now this happened. Suddenly, I felt that my secret crush might end in tragedy. After hearing Daphne's words, Blake looked at me triumphantly. I've known for a long time that you liked me. After knowing each other for so many years. Do you think I really couldn't tell? He threw the rose that I hadn't taken yet at me. I subconsciously caught it. My finger was pricked by the thorn on the flower branch. Blood oozed out, and I frowned in pain. Where did Blake steal this flower from? Even if it was a fake confession, he wasn't willing to go to the flower shop to buy me a flower. Am I really that unworthy? I lowered my eyes to look at the flower and inevitably felt a bit sad in my heart. Since you've taken my flower, that means you've agreed to be my girlfriend. Blake had already walked forward on his own, as if he was about to hug me. But when he got close to me, he was glared at by Daphne. Blake, the bake. Our Avery hasn't said yes yet. I won't allow you to hug her. I'm right here watching. If you want to touch Avery, you have to get past me first. She seemed to be speaking for me. But her actions and tone were more like she was being jealous and acting coquettously towards Blake. Behind Blake, a male classmate immediately teased, Daphne. How can he get past you? Should our Blake hug you first and then hug Avery? Our Blake has long arms. It's not impossible to hug one on each side. Daphne blushed shyly when she heard this. How can you talk nonsense? If you keep talking like this, I'll beat you up. Blake was also teasing Daphne. Look. Our Daphne is shy. Her face is all red. Daphne stamped her foot and rushed forward to punch Blake twice. Why are you also talking about me with them? Blake immediately smiled and surrendered. All right. All right. I won't say it anymore. I'll ask them not to say it either. I quietly moved to one side and watched the two of them performing in front of me. It was supposed to be a confession to me. Those who didn't know would think that Blake and Daphne were a couple flirting with each other. Maybe they really were? I might just be a part of their game. Remembering what the male voice said in my ears just now, and looking at Blake's smiling face towards Daphne at this moment, my youthful admiration disappeared in an instant. I suddenly felt disgusted. Someone said to get back to the main topic. What's the situation now? Isn't Blake confessing his love to Avery? Blake then realized what was going on and immediately turned his head to look at me with disgust and said impatiently, say something. Avery. Are you mute? He glanced at me and then teased. Or are you too excited by my confession and so happy that you can't say a word? Why hadn't I realized before that Blake was such a frivolous person? I couldn't bear it anymore. Just as I was about to open my mouth to refuse, an unfinished mineral water bottle suddenly hit the ground at Blake's feet. It startled Blake. Damn it. Who is it? It also interrupted my words. I looked up and saw a boy walking out of the crowd. Smiling casually, sorry. I didn't hold it steady. This voice was so familiar. I looked at the boy, watching him walk forward. bend down to pick up the mineral water bottle, curl his lips, and suddenly look up at me. Avery. I didn't know the boy in front of me. When he suddenly called me, I replied blankly. The next second, he smiled and waved at me, and said in a casual voice, "I saw that your finger was stabbed. Let me take you to deal with the wound." As the boy finished speaking, the voice that had come into my ears before rang again. "Find an excuse to take this fool away first. Are you looking at me? Hello. Let's get to know each other. I might be your future boyfriend." Well, look at my face more. Am I not handsomer than him? At this time, I was sure. The boy in front of me was really the owner of the voice that came into my ears at the beginning. And what I heard seemed to be his inner thoughts. And only I could hear them. Was it so magical? Future boyfriend? He liked me? How interesting. I smiled at the boy. "Sure. Do you have any band-aids?" Seeing that I agreed, the boy was obviously a bit surprised. His inner thoughts were like a stormy sea. She actually agreed? Leaving Blake and going with me? On the surface, he was calm. "No. But there are some for sale at the school gate. Shall we go together?" He was quite cute. I held back my laughter. "Okay. Let's go." Hearing our conversation, Blake read out a low sigh. Who had been ignored by me, immediately changed his face. He stopped me and his tone was extremely bad. "Avery. I'm still here. Are you going to leave with another man? Who is this pretty boy? When did you hook up with him?" Daphne was also being sarcastic beside him. "Blake, see? You should have a sense of crisis. Our Avery is different from me. She's very popular with boys." Looking at the two of them, I was really speechless. I tried my best to slow down my tone. "Blake, who I go with or hook up with seems to have nothing to do with you, right? Who do you think you are to me?" Blake immediately frowned when he heard this. "What are you suddenly making a fuss about? I confessed my love to you in front of so many people, and you've already accepted the flowers. Do you want to go back on your word now? Flowers?" He still had the nerve to mention this lousy flower. I lowered my eyes to look at the flowers in my hand and pretended to suddenly realize something. Were these flowers for you to confess your love to me? I thought they were just some trash and was kindly planning to take them to the trash can for you. I saw you having a great time with Daphne over there and thought you were confessing your love to her. So it turns out that I was the one you were confessing to? Well, then I'm sorry. I decline. I don't like you." I raised my hand and threw the flowers back at Blake's face. Blake was hit and took 2 steps back. He wiped his face and suddenly curved his lips into a smile. "Avery, having fulfilled my obsession. Are you jealous? Are you angry that I was talking to Daphne just now and ignored you?" He was so narcissistic. I couldn't help but want to roll my eyes. "No, I really don't like you." But it was as if Blake couldn't understand what I was saying. He continued to say smugly, still saying angry words, "Aren't you afraid that I'll get angry too? How could you not like me? Not to mention that your roommates all know your feelings for me. Since we were kids, you liked to follow me around. Whichever school I went to, you would pester your mother to transfer you to that school. When someone sent me a love letter, and I just said I'd consider it, you were so sad that you wouldn't eat for a whole day and insisted that I coax you. It seemed that there was such a thing. At that time, Blake deliberately showed me the love letter saying that it was written by the prettiest girl in the class next door and that she was so beautiful that he wanted to consider it. Then he enjoyed watching my disappointed look before telling me that he was just joking. Yeah. Things like liking someone can't be completely hidden. Having known each other for so many years, how could Blake not notice it at all? He just pretended not to know and enjoyed my pursuit of him. I smiled with relief and raised my eyes to meet Blake's gaze. That was all in the past. People change. Before Blake could say anything else, I walked past him and went towards the boy who had been waiting for me behind him. "Classmate. Let's go." "Okay." Seeing that I was really leaving, Blake couldn't keep his composure. "All right. Avery. Did you think I really liked you? I just lost a game of truth or dare at last night's party and made a bet to chase you. Do you think you're so popular? Nobody really likes you at all. Is that so?" I smiled inferiorly and turned to look at the boy beside me. Classmate. Do you have a girlfriend? If not, what do you think of me? I heard the noisy discussions among the male classmates behind Blake. Who's that guy? Where did he come from? Don't you know? He's Caleb from class 5. He's a rich kid and his family is really wealthy. Then what's he doing here joining in the fun? Now we don't even have a show to watch. Maybe he has a crush on Avery. He wants to court her and have some fun. Anyway, heading fulfilled my obsession. These rich kids play with women like they play with balls. And what was even noisier was Caleb's inner thoughts at this moment. Did she just ask me if I have a girlfriend? No. She wants to be my girlfriend? Caleb. You're amazing. Amazing. Wait a minute. Don't rush. What are those idiots talking nonsense about? I'm playing with Avery? On the contrary. Thanks. Let Avery play with me. Even if she plays me to death, I'll have no regrets. Caleb didn't answer me. Instead, he smiled and first looked at those chattering male classmates. But his smile didn't reach his eyes, and he seemed a bit angry. Do you all think of me as some kind of ultimate playboy? That I'll court a woman just to play with her? Huh. Then I have to clarify this for myself. Instead of playing with others, I hope more that the girl I like can play with me. As long as she's happy playing with me, I'll be more than willing. After saying that, Caleb turned to look at me and answered my initial question. I don't have a girlfriend. Are you interested? I smiled. A bit. Shall we talk about it? Shall we talk while walking? I nodded. Okay. Let's go. Behind us, Blake was about to call out to stop me, but was stopped by Daphne. Caleb and I walked towards the school gate together. On the way, he scratched his hair and asked me, "Did you know that Blake wasn't really confessing his love to you?" Yeah. I nodded. Thanks to your inner thoughts. Caleb was very curious. How did you know? I smiled. I guessed. He didn't seem to have good intentions. Definitely. Caleb agreed wholeheartedly. He doesn't seem like a good person. You should stay away from him in the future. Then he secretly added two sentences in his mind. Of course. I'm a good person. You can stay close to me and give me some chances. I turned to look at Caleb. In the sunlight, the boy had a bright smile. I couldn't help but become curious. I hadn't had any interactions with him in the 3 years at this school. Before this, I didn't even know his name. How on earth did he fall in love with me? And how did he know about these things between me and Blake? I smiled at him. Thank you, Caleb. Caleb was stunned for a moment. Thank me for what? For coming to take me away to save me from embarrassment. Caleb curved his lips. You already knew? Yeah. I nodded. So can you tell me what's going on here? Caleb didn't say anything else. Instead, he took out his phone from his pocket, flipped through it and then handed it to me. Take a look for yourself. I lowered my eyes and saw several screenshots of chat records. It seemed to be from some group. Blake, like, when are you planning to confess your love to Avery tomorrow? We'll go to cheer you on. Cheer me on for what? I don't really like her. But she really likes you. Do you think she'll be so angry that she'll cry when she finds out you were just joking after she agrees? It's good if she cries. Then I'll deliberately approach her. Take advantage of the situation and try to win her over that night. TSK. To be honest, Avery's not bad looking. And her figure. I'll have a good look when I succeed. You're talking like this. Aren't you afraid that Blake will get angry? Why should I be angry? Do whatever you want. I'm only chasing her because Daphne wants to have some fun. I just want to make Daphne happy. Look, our Blake is so affectionate. I read all the chat records and didn't feel too much turmoil inside. I handed the phone back to Caleb. Are you also in this group? Caleb shook his head. My roommate is in it. These chat screenshots were sent to me not long before Blake confessed his love to you. Why was it sent to you? Maybe because he saw that I was quite interested in you. I didn't expect Caleb to say it so bluntly. My face blushed instantly. I remembered that I had asked him impulsively just now what he thought of me. Sorry. I just asked you if you had a girlfriend and what you thought of me. I was using you to get myself out of that situation. Oh, Caleb put his phone back in his pocket and smiled at me. It's okay. Avery. I think you're great. I'm happy that I can be of use to you. His inner thoughts, come on. Being used by the person you like to create a scandal is so cool. Okay? Why is he being more and more straightforward? However, maybe Caleb was afraid that I would be embarrassed. After walking out of the school gate, he quickly changed the topic. The pharmacy is over there. Let's go there. I almost forgot about this. Hearing Caleb's words, I lowered my eyes to look at my fingers and then smiled. No need. It's too late. Ah? Caleb was a bit confused. I lifted my injured finger in front of his eyes and shook it. Look, look. It's too late. The wound has already healed. Caleb was almost made cross-eyed by my shaking. A few seconds later, he reached out and grabbed my wrist. Stop shaking. I'm dizzy. I want to faint into your arms. After hearing Caleb's inner thoughts, my face blushed even more. I went home. Before leaving, Caleb asked for my contact information, saying that we should keep in touch when we were free later. In the evening, Blake unexpectedly knocked on my door at home. I opened the door in confusion and saw him coldly handing me a bag of things. You haven't eaten yet, right? I just brought you dinner from outside. I didn't reach out to take it. Instead, I just looked at Blake in silence. Blake frowned. Still angry? We'd known each other for so many years. I just used you to play a joke and chase someone. Do you have to be so petty? I didn't even blame you for being so rude to me because of that pretty boy. Take it. Avery's parents asked me to take good care of you before they left. I don't want you to be so sad that you won't eat for a whole day again. Blake and I were neighbors. My parents and his parents had a good relationship. After the college entrance examination, our two families had originally planned to go on a trip together. But on the day of departure, Blake suddenly said he wouldn't go. I excitedly waited for this news at the airport. In the end, I decided to stay at home too. I dragged my suitcase angrily and went to question Blake. We agreed to go on a trip together. Why did you suddenly go back on your word? Blake clicked his tongue. I'm too lazy to go. If you want to go, just go with them. I won't stop you. But at that time, since he didn't go, I certainly didn't feel like going either. I originally thought that if we didn't go on a trip, it would be okay. I could take this time to spend more time alone with Blake and develop our relationship. But now, I just wanted to stay away from him. No need. I've eaten. Also, hading så stilled sash. Blake, that info stilled my session. That wasn't a joke. It wasn't funny at all. After saying that, I was about to close the door. Blake quickly stuck his free hand into the door and grabbed my arm. Avery. Is it necessary? Let go. Blake. What are you doing? Suddenly, a female voice interrupted Blake's words. I looked through the crack of the door and was surprised to see that it was Daphne. She was going home with Blake. Blake quickly let go of me. It's okay. She's just being stubborn and not eating again. I was thinking of coaxing her. After all, her parents asked me to. Really? Daphne also came over and quickly joined Blake kindly, persuading me, Avery, and bite. What happened in the afternoon was just a joke. Don't be angry. I know you've always liked Blake. And now that your hopes have been dashed, you must be feeling a bit sad. But you can't joke with your health like this. How can you not eat? Even if Blake can't be your boyfriend, we're still all your friends and can accompany you just the same. I didn't want to waste any more words on them and slammed the door shut. The next day, I slept until after 9 o'clock. After a simple wash, I was ready to go downstairs to have breakfast. When I opened the door, I saw Blake and Daphne snuggling up at the elevator entrance. Ugh. What bad luck. Daphne turned around and glanced at me but didn't say anything. I stood expressionlessly behind them, lowering my head and playing with my phone. Coincidentally, heading so Selway and Susher. Caleb sent me a message. Caleb, are you up? I just got up. I'm about to have breakfast. Caleb sent me a picture of a newly opened hot pot restaurant. Are you interested in having hot pot? My cousin's new store has just opened. I'll treat you. Hot pot. I haven't had it for a long time. To be honest, I was really craving it. I replied with an okay emoji, sure. After agreeing on the time with Caleb, The elevator just arrived. I put away my phone and walked in. Blake put his arm around Daphne and stood in the corner. Looking at me coldly, "You got up so early. Are you going on a date with some man?" I smiled at them. "With Caleb." Hearing Caleb's name, Blake snorted coldly and his face instantly turned ugly. Daphne also pursed her lips and said in a sarcastic tone, "Blake. See? I was right. Avery is really popular with men. Now that it seems you can't catch up with her. She's immediately found another guy. You don't even need to worry about her. Avery. I have to say you're quite capable. I heard from others that Caleb is really hard to chase. There are 8 or 9 girls in our school who had been rejected by him. What method did you use? You hooked up with him so quickly? As your roommate, I still want to kindly remind you that we girls should take good care of our own bodies. Don't end up being played by others and have nowhere to cry when things go wrong." I looked Daphne up and down. Suddenly, I turned my head and laughed. "Thanks. But I think what you said to persuade me is more suitable for you." Daphne's face instantly turned ugly. "Avery, having fulfilled my obsession. What do you mean? Think about it yourself." The elevator door opened. I turned around and left without looking back. Just based on what Blake had done in these 2 days. Did Daphne really think that she had found a treasure? In the evening, I went to the hot pot restaurant where I had an appointment with Caleb. It wasn't far from my home. It took just over 10 minutes by taxi to get there. Before entering the store, Caleb sent me a message, "Sorry. Something came up suddenly. I might be a bit late." It's okay. I'll wait for you in the store." Who would have thought that as soon as I stepped into the hot pot restaurant, I almost bumped into Blake who was passing by. How could I run into him here? This was getting more and more unlucky. Daphne, who was not far away, saw the commotion at the door and sneered and walked over. "Avery, having fulfilled my obsession. Why are you here too?" "Blake and I just confirmed our relationship and invited a few friends to have dinner. I thought since you said you were going on a date with Caleb, I didn't tell you. I didn't expect you to be so well informed and come here by yourself." The implication was that I had come uninvited to the party. I looked behind Daphne. I did see our 2 roommates and a few of Blake's buddies. Their seats were not far away. I heard one of the boys mention me. "It seems Avery still has feelings for our Blake. She's followed us here eagerly. She's so thick-skinned. I wish there was a girl who would do the same for me." One of my roommates interrupted him. "Okay. Stop talking." Blake glanced at me triumphantly. "All right. Since you're here, go and sit down. We're all friends." Daphne also waved at me. "Come on. Come over here." I ignored them. I turned around and wanted to walk to the other side. Blake frowned and pulled me back. "Avery. Where are you going?" I sneered. "Did I say I came to find you? You're being too self-assertive." Blake's face changed, and he lost his previous smugness. "Then who are you here to find?" "Of course she's here to find me." "What nonsense. Let go of my Avery. You jerk." "Huh. Caleb's inner thoughts? Where was he?" I didn't even need to turn around to look. Caleb grabbed my wrist, pulled me behind him and got me out of Blake's control. He smiled at Blake. "What are you pulling her for?" "She's here to find me. Is there a problem?" After saying that, Caleb turned to look at me. "Let's go." He pulled me to an empty seat on the other side of the store and sat down. We were far away from Blake, but he didn't let go of my hand all the time. "How long have you been here?" he asked me. "Not long. I just arrived too." He pushed the menu in front of me. "What would you like to eat?" "Take a look." "It's okay to take a look." I propped my cheek with the hand that he wasn't holding and smiled. "Just, when are you planning to let go of me?" A blush appeared on Caleb's face. "Oh no. I was caught secretly holding her hand. I don't want to let go. No. I must let go. I can't be a rascal." He quickly let go of my hand and made up an excuse seriously. "Sorry. I forgot." "Oh, you have a really bad memory." I silently shifted my gaze to the menu. Actually, Caleb with a blushing face seemed even more handsome, making one want to pinch his cheeks. Better not look at him like that. I was afraid I couldn't resist reaching out to do it. A few days later, The college entrance examination results came out. After checking my score, I breathed a sigh of relief. It was okay. 674 points. I could get into the university that I had always wanted to attend. Caleb also sent me a message immediately. How was it? What's your score? It's okay. 674. What about you? Caleb replied in a second, what a coincidence. I got 673. Just 1 point less than you. The scores were so close. It was indeed quite a coincidence. Caleb quickly sent a second message. Do you have time to come out and celebrate? Okay. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow? Caleb, tomorrow. Sure. At home. My mother, who had just come back from a trip not long ago, was clamoring to cook a big meal to reward me. I was just telling my mother the names of the dishes I wanted. There was a knock on the door. Who is it? Coming. My mother quickly walked over and opened the door. To her surprise, it was Blake's mother. She walked into the room with a smile. How was it? How many points did your Avery get? 674. About the same as the estimated score. How about your Blake? Have you checked it? Blake's mother sighed. We checked. He just passed the undergraduate admission line with a score of a little over 400. We're worrying about which school to apply for him. Tell me about him. He grew up with Avery since childhood and has known her for so many years. Why isn't he as motivated as Avery at all? His mind isn't on studying. After the exam, he's been busy dating all day long. He wouldn't listen no matter what we said. The girl he's dating now isn't as good as Avery at all. I heard she only got a score of a little over 300. It'll be hard for her to get into a good junior college. I say he should break up with her as soon as possible and continue with Avery. Wanjun. My mother gently interrupted Blake's mother. Let the children decide their own affairs. They've grown up. We adults shouldn't interfere too much. Blake called his mother back home from outside the door. When he saw me, he avoided my gaze, as if he was afraid that I would ask him about his college entrance examination results and be embarrassed. But actually, I wasn't interested in his affairs at all now. However, his score reminded me of something that happened before the college entrance examination. At that time, I was afraid that Blake's grades were too poor and he couldn't go to the same university as me. So I thought about tutoring him. Blake didn't care at all at that time. I think my score is okay. Avery, hehehe. Do you want to go to the same university as me? Then just deliberately answer a few more math questions wrong. It's so simple. It was so simple for him. Fortunately, having fulfilled my obsession, I wasn't so stupid as to follow his advice and sacrifice my own life at that time. Many people in moments were sharing the joy after checking their scores. I scrolled through and saw Daphne. There was an angry selfie of her with her mouth puffed out. What should I do? I did so poorly in the exam. I won't be able to get into any school. Crying. JPG. There was a comment from Blake below. If you can't get into any school, then so be it. What are you afraid of with me around? You can marry me early and I'll support you. Daphne, stop it. How could you say that in public? Blake, what's wrong? Are you shy? Wicked smile. JPG. They seemed to enjoy flirting in public and were having a great time. They were also quite satisfied with the lives they had chosen. I smiled. I gave Daphne's moments both alike. The next day, I went out to have dinner with Caleb. Just as I stood outside the barbecue restaurant, I actually heard Caleb's continuous inner thoughts. Before Avery comes, grill these things well so that she can eat directly when she arrives. I want to make sure there's always meat in her bowl. I want to feed her until she's full. Hey? Is Avery about to arrive? Hurry up and check how I look now. My hair looks a bit greasy? No way. My perfect image can't be ruined. I'll go to a barber shop and wash it right now. Caleb suddenly stood up. I also happened to walk to his seat at the same time. What's wrong? Nothing. You're here. Caleb sat down looking aggrieved, crying on the inside. Woohoo. There's no time to wash my hair. My perfect image is gone. To be honest. Listening to Caleb's inner thoughts. The more I look at him now, the cuter I think he is. I picked up a piece of the piled up barbecue in the bowl and took a bite. Then smiled and complimented him. You look really handsome today. Caleb immediately beamed with joy. Really? Thank you. Avery complimented me. She complimented me. It was worth getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going to the neighboring city to get my hair done. It was all worth it. Going to the neighboring city at 5 o'clock? He's really something. After finishing the barbecue, we strolled around on the street. While walking, I casually said, after checking the scores recently, many classmates have gone traveling. How about you? Do you have such a plan? Instead of answering, Caleb asked me first, what about you? Do you have such a plan? I shook my head. I was originally going to go with my parents after the college entrance examination, but it didn't work out because of some unexpected things. Now if I want to go again, there's no one to accompany me. Me. Caleb's voice came from beside me. It just so happens that I don't have anyone to accompany me either. We can go together. Actually, through getting along these days, my relationship with Caleb has become closer and closer. There's really nothing wrong with making an appointment to go out and play together. I readily agreed, sure. Where do you want to go? Caleb didn't even think about it. Anywhere is fine for me. What about you? The seaside and city, yes? Okay. I'll take you home now. Pack up and we'll set off tomorrow. I was a bit dazed. So soon? Caleb smiled and raised an eyebrow. I'm a man of action. Inside, he was already extremely excited. Going on a trip together. Rounding it off. It's like a honeymoon for just the two of us. Dear City, yes. Here we come. Behind me, an electric bike was coming towards us, honking its horn. Caleb subconsciously pulled me to the side. I didn't stand firmly and bumped into his arms. Caleb blushed while holding me. She smells so nice. Caleb. Do you know that when you think this sentence, you seem like a pervert? The next evening, Caleb and I sat on the beach in City S together, looking at the setting sun in front of us. All of this was so surreal, as if it were a dream. It's so beautiful. The sunset? I mean you. I didn't quite react. Caleb propped his hands on the beach, tilted his head and looked at me with a smile. I mean, no, let out a low sigh. Both you and the sunset are beautiful. After he said that, I blushed shyly. The ringtone of my mobile phone rang at an inappropriate time. It interrupted the brief and ambiguous atmosphere between us. It was Blake calling. What did he want from me at this time? I picked up the phone, and Blake's furious voice came from the phone. Avery, where on earth have you gone? You didn't even come to my college entrance banquet at noon? I was a bit impatient. You're looking for me now about what happened at noon? Blake, I've been busy until now and just had time. It was Daphne who reminded me. Avery, having fulfilled live session. Do you have to be so vindictive? We've known each other for almost 20 years. Are you really unwilling to be friends with me just because of that little thing about the confession? I sneered, sorry. But I am vindictive. Blake changed the topic. I heard that you went traveling. With whom? You have such a bad temper. There probably isn't anyone willing to accompany you, right? Did you sneak out by yourself? Afraid of being embarrassed? And lied to Avery's parents that you were with friends? Avery, having fulfilled live session. I know you so well. If you had told me in advance, maybe I could have accompanied you. I don't need you to accompany me. Hearing this, Caleb leaned close to my ear and said softly, it's enough that Avery has me with her. Blake, Lakarasai. Don't think you can accompany everyone. There are so many people. Can you accompany them all? Hearing Caleb's voice, Blake was so angry that he almost wanted to swear. I quickly hung up the phone and blocked him. He was really like a lingering ghost. Caleb chuckled softly. He was very close to me. His warm breath sprayed on my ear, making it itchy and also making my heart feel itchy. After coming back from traveling for a few days, the school began to organize filling in the college application forms. After finishing it, I saw Caleb at the classroom door. What are you doing here? Caleb put away his phone, looked up at me and smiled, waiting for you. Caleb and I walked side by side towards the school gate. He asked me, did you fill in University A for your application? I nodded, yes. What about you? The same as you. Actually, we had already discussed this when we were traveling. Let me take you home. Okay. After saying that, Caleb and I walked towards my home in silence. Well, it was said to be silence. But Caleb's inner thoughts had never stopped. Want to hold hands. But dare not. Walk slower so that I can spend more time with her. Really want to confess my love. But afraid of scaring her. Forget it. Avery. When we go to college, I'll make a move on you. Make a move. Saying this word makes me seem like a bad person. I stopped walking, turned to look at Caleb, and finally spoke first. Caleb. Do you like me? Caleb was obviously stunned and turned around stiffly. You already know? Oh no. She won't think that my approaching her during this period was with ill intentions. Will she? I nodded. Can you tell me why you like me? Caleb let out a heavy breath, then looked at me seriously with his eyes downcast. From the first glance. The first time I saw you when signing up for school at the beginning of the semester. I fell in love with you. You walked past me with a high ponytail. At that time, I suddenly felt that this was what youth should be like, and you would become my whole youth. Actually, during these 3 years in high school, I often appeared around you. But you never noticed me. Avery. I really like you. You can think about it carefully. There's no need to rush to tell me the answer. He lowered his eyes, looking just like a pitiful puppy. And his inner thoughts were even more pitiful. Don't reject me. Now. I didn't know what to say for a moment. Avery. Your face is red. As if a long time had passed. Caleb said this sentence. I came to my senses and rubbed my face. It's because of the heat. Caleb smiled. Then will you promise me? We'll see. Then will you reject me? We'll see. Okay. We'll see. I didn't doubt Caleb's sincerity at this moment. After all, his inner thoughts wouldn't lie. It's just that things were developing too fast, and I was a bit conflicted myself. Later, during the summer vacation, Caleb and I spent a lot of time together. Every day. He was either looking for me or on his way to find me. He was so clingy. On the last day of the summer vacation, we went to the mall together to buy some things needed for the start of school. He sent me to the entrance of my community. Unexpectedly, we ran into Blake and Daphne. I hadn't contacted Blake for so long. I almost forgot that there was such a person. Blake and Daphne seemed to be quarreling. Daphne, with her hair in a mess, was pulling at the corner of Blake's clothes. Blake, you mean? Please don't go. Blake was full of impatience. We've already broken up. Can you stop bothering me? I'm pregnant. You can't abandon me. If you're pregnant, just have an abortion. Didn't I give you money? Blake shook off Daphne, turned around, and saw me, who was a few steps away and about to enter the door. Avery. I stopped walking. What's the matter? Blake looked at Caleb, frowned and questioned. Why is he here? Are you two together? He looked us up and down and suddenly realized. Avery. Did you hear that Daphne and I broke up and deliberately brought him here to make me angry? Do you want to see if I still care about you? Your little tricks are still so obvious. I knew that you liked me for so many years. How could you just stop liking me like that? Well, if you dump him and come to me now, I'll consider whether to be with you or not. Hearing Blake say these things on his own, I was full of question marks, and even doubted whether there was something wrong with my ears and I had misheard. Blake let out a lull sigh. Narcissism is a disease and needs to be cured. Daphne was also provoked by Blake's words. She rushed up and clung to Blake. Blake, you scumbag. Don't even think about shaking me off. If you break up with me, I'll make a scene in your community every day and then go to your school to make everyone know all the dirty things you've done. Daphne. Are you crazy? Their scuffle almost affected me. Fortunately, Caleb promptly pulled me into his arms and pulled me back. But his arm was unavoidably scratched by Daphne, and there was a blood stain. He frowned. Let's go. I also got nervous. Let's go. Come to my home. I'll disinfect it for you. When we left, Blake and Daphne were still in a fierce quarrel. I didn't have the heart to care about them anymore. As early as the moment when Blake wanted to humiliate my feelings for the sake of Daphne. It was doomed that we would take to paths that would never intersect in the future. This is the path they chose themselves. They have to endure it well. After returning home, I took out the medicine box. After fiddling with it for a long time, I almost wrapped Caleb's arm like a mummy. Caleb, it's just a scratch. There's no need to be so exaggerated. I couldn't help but laugh myself. This way it'll heal faster. Otherwise, when I see that wound, will you feel bad? Caleb quietly moved close to me. Looking at his face so close to me, I instantly felt flustered. Want to kiss? Want to kiss? Want to kiss? Caleb kept repeating these two words in his mind. The more he thought about it, the redder my face became. All of a sudden, it seemed that I followed my heart. I nodded gently. Yes, Kavasar. I'll feel bad. I saw Caleb's eyes light up instantly. Avery, you said you'll feel bad. Did I hear it right? Then we'll see if it'll change. I couldn't help but raise my hand and pinch his face. Yes, having fulfilled right session. I promised you. Caleb was stunned for a moment. Can I kiss now? Before he could ask, I took the initiative to lean over and placed a gentle kiss on his lips. Just a light touch. But when I was about to pull back, Caleb pressed the back of my head and deepened the kiss. Just a light kiss like that will be enough. Silly. At that time, the breeze blew in from the window, blowing through our hair. I blushed and broke free from Caleb's arms. Looking at the young man in front of me, everything seemed just right. From now on, you can kiss me for as long as you want. Boyfriend. The end. Extra story, I've never told Caleb that I can hear his inner thoughts. Caleb is quite troubled by this. He feels that he can't hide anything from me. I deliberately teased him, actually. I have superpowers. I can know everything you're thinking in your mind. Caleb snorted arrogantly, I don't believe it. Unless you tell me what I'm thinking right now. No problem. A few minutes later, my face turned bright red. Caleb, open your mind. It must be full of dirty thoughts. All dirty. Completely dirty. Extremely dirty. Caleb raised an eyebrow, bent down and pushed me down on the bed. Baby. Did you guess it right? Then shall we give it a try?